Most of us need to do some decluttering at some time in our life, and usually multiple times in our lives. Especially if you're over 50 like I am, you have probably accumulated some stuff, sometimes some stuff, multi-generational stuff too, but this can go for any age. This video is going to be a little different than maybe some of the other videos that you've seen. This is not about dumping all your stuff. This is about making good decisions, and part of that is identifying why you might be having trouble decluttering in the first place. This is something that I did so that I could think about it. Also, I wanted to make this video. This is something I really wanted to do on my channel, and also to kind of have a strategy going into it. First, I'm going to talk about some of the more practical reasons why you might be having trouble decluttering, and then more emotional reasons, which is my big issue. But really, these things kind of ebb and flow into each other too, but I've tried to organize it into some categories. Number one, overwhelm. This is a biggie. We get overwhelmed. The job is huge. Most of us are busy. You may be very busy, and it's just so much that we just don't ever want to do it. Well, there's a few things that you can do to get you going. Start a little at a time. Don't do some great big project that you're probably not going to be able to finish. Think about some category of things. You could say, I'm going to clean out all the tools that I'm not using anymore, or the tools that I have multiple of. Or it might be in your kitchen. Maybe you've got tons of pots and pans. Which ones are you really using? Just clean those out. Just find a little category that you can start and finish in, say, a time period. And that's another thing that you can do. You can set a timer on your phone and say, okay, for 10 minutes or for half an hour or whatever it is, I am going to go through, I'm going to declutter this drawer. Some small thing that you can accomplish. Areas like a drawer is another way you could do this. Today, I'm just going to do my hall closet. Or today, I'm just going to do under my bathroom sink, so that you can start and finish. And then maybe you do that once a week, once a month, whatever you can do. I've also seen little challenges that you can do, like the 30-day challenge, where the first day you declutter one thing, the second day 2 things, the third day 3 things, the fourth day 4th, and so on and so on. You could do that. Or even every day I'm going to find one thing, just one thing, that I'm not using, and I'm going to go set it aside for donation, throw away, recycle, whatever is appropriate. I think I'll put a little plug in here for please try to recycle, please try to donate where you can, so that we are minimizing waste. Also, and this is one that works for me pretty well, is start with something easy. Don't go through the family pictures right away. You're going to be sitting there 3 hours later, oohing and aahing over the kids when they were little. So, or missing someone who may have passed. So maybe just categorize the pictures. That's what I'm going to do. That's one of my categories. I'm going to deal with the pictures another day, but I'm going to get them all into one place. Another category might be, what if I need it? What if I give it away and I want it? Well, this one, you just have to think about it. Do you need it? Are you using it? When was the last time that you used it? And if you give it away, can you get a new one easily and fairly inexpensively? I saw this great thing, and you could modify this to your needs, but if you can replace it for less than $20 and in less than 20 minutes, and you haven't used it in a while, maybe you should donate it. It is to all of ours, actually, benefit to have our things organized and to know what we have. And sometimes if you just have too much stuff, this has happened to me over and over again, you end up buying something that you already own. So that's another motivation for the what if I need it category. Look at what you're using. What do you need? What do you really need? And are you using it? And could your space be better utilized if you pared down keeping the things that you use on a regular basis? This might be a good time to talk about a strategy that I used with clothes, and it worked very well, and I'm going to mention it throughout this video. What you can do is put it in a later pile. You want to put this stuff in a place that is visible, We're not reburying it again. I cleared off a shelf in my closet and I put a bunch of clothes on the shelf. And I gave myself 1 year to think about it. And you know what? I didn't need to think about it for a whole year. After about 6 or 8 months, I can't remember exactly, I was ready to make those decisions because I had a little time to think about it and it took that stress off of right now. But it needs to be visible so you can see it. It needs to be easily accessible so you can go get it if you need it. That way, after some months, you can really say, okay, I set this aside. I didn't use it. Or maybe you did. I even rescued a few of my clothes out of that pile. And I was glad I didn't give them away. But it gave me some time and it really worked for me. Related to the what if I need it category is the what if I throw something away that I wanted to keep category. Well, I have actually done that, or I've cleaned out and all I know is I can't find a certain thing now ever since I cleaned out, and I don't know if I accidentally gave them away or if they're still here and I just reorganized it. So this one is personal for me. Here's a few things that you might do. First of all, find your places. Get your categories in order. Things you want to keep, things you want to go through later, things that you want to donate, recycle, sell, etc. Get them designated and maybe make a place for the really important stuff so that you can feel comfortable that those things are in a certain place and identifiable. I'll tell you something I did by accident when my mom passed away. I put a bunch of her things into this purple box. I did it kind of for an emotional reason because I knew my mom would like this purple box, but it was great because it's so identifiable. I know this box is the stuff of my mom's and I don't want it accidentally donated or thrown away because it's so identifiable. Well, I looked up these colored boxes and they're kind of pricey. You can get them on Amazon. I'll link them below, but I think they're $80 for 6 of them. And I really didn't want to spend that. So what I did, also from Amazon, which I will link, I got these large, colorful labels so that I can put them on 4 sides of the box. They were pretty inexpensive, so I feel okay doing that. And I'll know that's an important box. It's not going to get lost. It's not going to accidentally get donated. Maybe it's something that you used in the past. You've really used this thing, but you haven't used it in a long time. Well, you can ask yourself some questions. Does this fit my current lifestyle? Or is this something from the past? I think this is particularly tough for some of us folks who are over 50, or really any age really where you're transitioning, you're making a change, you're moving into a new phase of your life. And you have all these things from your old life. Are you going to use them? When was the last time you used it? And are you likely to use it? And one that I kind of thought of and I'm asking myself is, would you buy it? Would I buy this thing right now? And is it really your style right now? And if none of those things are true and you really can't think of a good use for it, maybe it's time to part with that item. You spent good money on it or it's still perfectly good. Ugh, this is a hard one for me. It's tough if you spent money on something and now you're just going to donate it. Well, yes, you might have lost some money. But maybe you could ask yourself, what is hanging on to it going to do? You can't get the money back that way. Hanging on to it is just taking up space. You're almost still paying for it if you're not using it because you're moving it around, or maybe it's in a storage locker. Maybe it's more practical, more frugal just to part with it. You might be able to sell it. This is something that we are doing and my husband's having good luck with it. He's made so far, I think $450. So if you do have some things that have value, there's lots of ways that you can sell online now, and that might be an option for you. Also, can you feel good about donating it? There are some things like maybe you have some career clothes that you're not using anymore. Maybe you've retired. Maybe there is a woman's shelter or a men's shelter that could use those clothes. Or maybe children's toys. Maybe you have a lot of toys that don't particularly have sentimental meaning and they're just taking up space now. Maybe you could donate them. And it feels really good to think that you're helping and that these items can be reused by someone who will love them. Another category is maybe it's just your style. If you have a collection that's giving you joy, well then maybe you have that collection, keep that collection. I think that the key is to not let them get out of hand. We toured a home once that we were looking to buy, and it was packed, and I mean packed in every single room. Shelves had been built in bathrooms with a particular Disney character. Think about that. Have you gone overboard? Do you need to pare down? But if there's a few things that you love, maybe you keep them and find a way to display them. I'll give you one of my examples. And I'm sorry, the gardeners are out there mowing lawns, so hopefully it's not too distracting. Something I dug out of the storage recently. I love rocks. It's one of my hobbies. I don't know, I just love rocks. I have since I was a little kid. I used to have boxes and boxes of rocks, like a lot. And I was moving a lot because, I was in my 20s and you're moving around. And I got rid of a lot of my rocks. And I'm glad. I pared down. I saved some really special ones. And here's one box. Plus I have them scattered around for some decoration. And then I have another box in storage. But if you love something, keep it. But maybe pare it down if you need to, if that's the problem. You just have too much. Okay, now for the harder ones, at least for me. And that is sentimental things, things that are emotional, and also family heirlooms, things what I'm going to call generational clutter. And this happens especially for people who are over 50 or over 60 like I am. You just start collecting things because people pass and you end up with a lot of stuff. And also another category that I don't hear talked about much, and that's historical. Some things are historical. I have things I think are historical. And then there are other kind of emotional reasons why people hang on to things. I also feel like I should say I'm talking about in general, not talking about deep emotional things that maybe you might need to talk to someone about. And I think that that is a legitimate thing to do if you're struggling. I'm talking more in a general way, but I did want to mention that because sometimes holding on to things is part of a larger issue. So some of the emotional reasons why you might be holding on to things, some of it is security. If you grew up and you didn't have much, or people who grew up and didn't have much. My mom is a great example. Born in 1928, grew up in the Depression, youngest of 11 children. And it's a little hard for me to fully describe because I didn't grow up this way at all. I had the opposite thing happen in my case. But I did do some research to do this video, and some thoughts were to just really think about these items. Think about your situation. Go over, remind yourself that you do have a good job, or you had a good job, or what you have. What do you really need to live? Like, is this really serving you? Do you really love this item? Rather than just on autopilot feeling like you need to have a lot of things. You might try to go slow, or maybe use that strategy of putting it in a later pile, a place that you can see, a place that you're not going to just forget about again, but so that you can feel more reassured in some months that, okay, I actually don't really need that thing. I have what I need is here, and I have what I need, and that I can let it go. So loss. This is a biggie. Oh, let me say right now, I'm not a psychiatrist or psychologist or counselor. I'm just a person going through this in my life, and I have been for a while. My mom passed away almost 15 years ago, and I have done this decluttering in stages. This generational clutter, I will say. So for me, I've chosen to do it in stages, and I'm glad because my goal is to get it down to a few meaningful items, make sure that everybody knows what they are, document them so that when I go, it isn't this avalanche of stuff on anybody who's left. But if someone just passed, maybe you just went through a divorce, or maybe your kids just moved out, they all ran off to college, whatever it is, I think give yourself a minute. I mean, if you are talking to someone, a professional, ask them what they think. For sure, this is just, pretend like I'm your girlfriend and you're just talking to me. What I would say is give yourself some time. Give yourself a little bit of time, whether it's 6 months or a year or whatever it is, if you can. Now, there's going to be some situations where maybe you inherited an entire house full of stuff and you can't, afford, maybe you have to sell the house, and so you're going to have to part with some items. Hopefully, some of the ideas in this video will give you some tools to decide what to keep and what to part with, and also in the videos that will be coming up. I'll also be putting some questions you can ask yourself in the description below. But give yourself some time if you can, because you need to grieve and then come back to it when you're a little less raw. And if you can, I would do this category last. Do the easy stuff first. Get the easy stuff done. Just that will give you a big relief and help keep you motivated to keep on going. This section is actually hard for me because I'm struggling with it right now. And after I've done it, I will make the other video, and I want to make that video after I've done it. So I'll have better answers for you. But if you look it up on the internet, what you will see is, remember that those things are not that person. Those things are not the love and the memories that you shared with that person. Those things are going to stay with you. So the advice is to separate that person from the stuff. And actually, I think that that's good advice. For someone like me, who I am a sentimental person, I'm going to want to keep a few items so that I have them, so that when I want to think of that person, I can look at them and I can kind of get that warm feeling from it. So that's my strategy. And how I think I'm going to accomplish it is to save a few really nice or very sentimental items, but not all of them. You might even give yourself a certain amount of space. Maybe you say, okay, I have this beautiful trunk. Whatever I can fit into this trunk, that's what I'm going to save. Or I'm going to give myself 5 boxes, 10 boxes, whatever it is, so that you have some things, but not all of the things. Something I'm really going to be looking at is, can I use it? Can I display it? I see these trends, actually I never go on TikTok, but I know that they're there, and on Instagram and all of this trendy stuff, and everyone's buying all of these things that have no meaning to them. I am in the mood for authenticity. I wonder if you are too. Let me know in the comments. I want to stop buying meaningless things. I would rather keep a few meaningful things that have value. So maybe you can repurpose it or display it, depending on what it is. One of the things that I found was a bunch of Beanie Babies. I don't know if any of you remember these. Comment below if you do. I was never really into Beanie Babies, but the rest of my family was, so I ended up getting a bunch of them, and feel guilty giving things away is coming up. Anyway, I saved them. But guess what? I have some grandchildren now. So these are great. They're going to love them. I'm going to get them out and just let them play with them. My goal, my why, knowing your why can help. I want to leave a few beautiful, meaningful things. I want to document them so that the people who are left know what it is and they can make their decision at the time. What I don't want to do is what happened to me, which was I inherited so much stuff, and my brother too, that it was overwhelming. I don't even know what half of this stuff is. You just overwhelm a person with all this stuff, and I don't want to do that, and that might help you make some decisions too. I think this is a good segue into family heirlooms and historical things. I don't hear people talking about this much. What I hear is nobody wants your stuff. You see these thumbnails, right? No one wants your stuff. And I also hear people say, my kids don't want any of my stuff. So here's some food for thought on that. If you ask a person in their 20s, 30s, 40s, they're probably not going to want anything. They're in what I call the building stage of their life. They've launched, they're seeing what they can do, they're building their life. They have jobs, they're starting out in their careers, they're having children, often all at the same time. They're making their homes. So if you ask them during this high change time for them, they're probably going to say no, it's just not the right time. But later, which is what happened to me, yes, I do want some of those things. Later, when life calmed down and when all my elders passed away, now I cherish some of these things. I didn't want the avalanche of it, but there are some things that I do want to hold on to and cherish. And that could be a situation for you too. You'll have to make a decision on this. If you have large things, maybe that's not going to work for you. But if there's a few small things, it's possible that later on down the line, if somebody knows what they are, they may want them. Or they might be an important part of family history. For example, in one of these boxes, I found the marriage certificate from 1905 for my grandparents. Now, I'm so happy that I didn't just chuck this along with all the other papers that were in that box. Here's another example. This is a shirt my mom wore when she used to go to dances during World War II, and it's kind of sparkly, and she had saved this all these years, so I'll probably save this at least for a while. I will make another video, but I am going to do some historical documentation and curating just so that anybody who finds these later will know what they are. Here's another thing. This is a dress that my mother-in-law had custom made for a party that she went to. It's all floral sequins. It's so cool. Oh, that's the back. Here's the front. Anyway, and she was just throwing it in the garbage and I rescued it. So you can see that this is an issue for me, but I am going to make some meaningful decisions about these items. Or maybe you feel guilty about giving something away because someone gave it to you. This is it's a tough category to deal with. And it's important to remember that when someone gives a gift, they gave it to you. It isn't necessarily an obligation to keep it forever. This is a tough one, but you can go back to some of those other questions. Do I already have something that I remember this person by? Maybe the person's not there anymore. You could use the pare down strategy here. If that applies, maybe you save one or two things and then you can get rid of the rest. Is this really my style? Do I even like it? if it's sitting in a closet because it's not really your style, it's not contributing to your life. The intent of the gift isn't being realized at that point. Keep what you love and donate what you don't. You're not obligated to keep that gift. And maybe by donating it, someone else can love it and give it a good home. Maybe it's something that you associate your identity with. Maybe it's awards or trophies that you earned at one time in your life. Or maybe an old band uniform from when you were a kid or something and it was a real pivotal part of your life. Again, if you can just pare down and keep one thing, that's the easy way out. I'm all for low-hanging fruit. You can still declutter a lot of things this way without feeling like you're giving away something that is important to you. You can also just decide you're going to give away those things. Those things, they are part of you. You can't take away the achievement that you accomplished at that time. That is carried with you. That item doesn't hold the importance really, that trophy or something. The accomplishment is what is important, and that will stay with you. You can't give that away. This is my little school clarinet, and I have kept it all these years since third grade, I'm talking, because it kind of reminds me of who I was then. And at one time I was going to take up the clarinet again. I'm not going to for a few certain reasons. And I bought another clarinet, so now I've got another clarinet rolling around here somewhere. But I'm going to let this go. And one of the things that really helps me is to kind of thank something. Like look at it, thank it, thank you. You were such a big part of my life then, but now I'm not using you, and someone else might. Some other little kid might get this clarinet and find the joy that I did in playing it. That's not going to happen if it's stuck in storage somewhere. So this item that means something to me will have a new life, and that makes me feel better about giving it away. Another category is things that represent unachieved goals or parts of life unlived. And the parts of life unlived thing is something I don't hear a lot of people talking about, but here's what I mean. Maybe you have some sports equipment that you were going to use. You were going to join that softball team, or you were going to ride that bike and you were going to get in shape, or you were going to learn to play the piano. Ask yourself, are you really going to do that? It's okay to change. And it's okay to change your mind. If you haven't used it in a year or even 5 years, I mean, I know I have stuff. My clarinet is one. I haven't picked it up in years and years. I'm not going to. It's okay. It's okay to change. It's okay to move on. Just forgive yourself for not using it. Also, if it's easy to replace, that's a no-brainer. If it's easy to replace and not that expensive and you could replace it if you really wanted to, then assure yourself of that and donate that thing. The other part to that is things that you really wanted to do, but you didn't, or you feel bad that you didn't, or you want to in the future, so you're saving this thing for that. I'll give you one example in my case. I inherited so many sets of dishes. I think I have 7 sets of dishes. Okay, my dream is to have a bigger home. I live in a beautiful townhome, but it's pretty small. It doesn't really suit our needs anymore, and there's no place to have a big family dinners or entertain a lot of people. And I want that. I want to do that. So I have saved these 7 sets of dishes for some time when I have a big dining room table and I can set these gorgeous tablescapes, which is another part of one of my issues. I love to do things like that, so I like to save different things. Well, I don't need 7 sets of dishes. I can pare them down, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do a whole video on that alone. I will save the ones that will allow me the most creative freedom, because that is important to me. I love to be creative, so I'll save those, and the ones that mean something to me personally and emotionally, and the rest I'm going to donate or sell. I may try to sell them. So more specific videos to come. The idea behind this video is to identify your barriers to decluttering. What is it for you? Maybe it's some of the categories that I mentioned. Maybe you have some categories of your own, and if you'd like to share those, please share them below in the comments section. But think about them ahead of time. Try to get some strategies in place to help you get through it so that you can get those things that are not bringing you joy, are not doing your life today any good. Get them out so that you have room to live the way you want to live, to find your own identity, and to have that feeling of peace when it comes to knowing you know what you own, you are enjoying what you own, and you don't have a lot of other stuff that's just holding you back. I hope this video was helpful. I'll be making the other videos, the more specific ones, but for now, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a beautiful day.